Hey, Swim.
Hello.
I don't know if this class gonna turn out to be anything. Kind of just a surprise. We're talking about it and decided to make a class out of it.
Yep.
But we're gonna talk about who are the Jews. I just asked Stacy that as I put my notes together.
hmm
What was you about to say before I cut you off and got my camera right quick?
I was saying that when I first hear the word Jews, I guess a lot of things come to my mind. One is just the word Judah.
Okay.
Another is those people that you see on television, and you usually think of New York with the long beard, the white man with the black hat on his head, and sort of dressed like
I think they call them Orthodox
yeah.
Jews. Got all black on and
Yeah.
got them long things hanging down from the side of their face or whatever.
Yeah. But now that, we're learning and studying, when I hear the word, well, when I am asked who are the Jews, I think of um, the Hebrew people.
Well, can that be proven though? Because you got all of them people over there in Israel who, when somebody say Jew, like we're looking here at this website right here, I put in into Google, who are the Jews? It says Jews or Jewish people are an ethno-religious group and a nation originating from the Israelites and Hebrews in historical Israel or Judah. I guess that ain't a bad definition.
That's not a bad definition, but um, I don't know. I don't know. You said, can it be proven? I'm sure it can be.
See, the thing about it, the reason why I want to do this class is when I say who are the Jews. See, you recognize that there are actually two groups of people that's being talked about. Even in this definition, it's saying the word Jews and then it's talking about Jewish. It's talking about Israel and it's talking about Judah. But you remember that you do know the difference between Israel and Judah. I know you do. You want to tell us?
You talking about the land?
Or the people?
Um, Israel. When I hear you say Israel, my mind immediately goes to the Third Testament, where it talks about Israel being the people who are those who are believers, those who have become spiritual as far as things with the Father. Is that what you're asking?
Okay, so you're talking about spiritual Israel, and you're right. We, yes, we should talk about how Israel is a spiritual name, and when you're really talking about Israel in modern days, or when the Bible is talking about Israel in modern days, it's talking about a spiritual group of people, not necessarily people with certain blood ties or anything. But I'm talking about people with blood ties in this. I'm talking about blood tie. I'm talking about bloodline Israel. Okay. Bloodline Israel and bloodline Judah. You know the difference?
I don't. I don't know the difference between those two. No.
No. Okay. Well, to understand the difference, what you remember, and I'm sure you just ain't thinking about it in the way that we're talking about. You remember the story where you had King David, then you had King Solomon. And Solomon did some stuff that was wicked in the eyes of the Lord. And the father promised to split up the kingdom.
Okay, yeah.
And, he would wait, and wouldn't split it up in Solomon's time, but he would actually split it up in his son's time. And, what ended up happening is Solomon's son, Rehoboam, went south with Judah and the half tribe of Benjamin. And Jeroboam, who was a servant of Solomon, went north with the other 10 tribes.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
So the tribes that went north are the tribes that the Bible refers to as Israel.
Okay.
It even tells you that, I can't remember where it tells you that, but it tells you, like when you read it in the book of Kings, the book of Chronicles, that in order not to get yourself confused, you have to remember that when it's saying Israel, it's talking about the 10 tribes that went north.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that there was a separation, but I I vaguely remember about the the 10 tribes going north. I guess because you don't hear a lot about them.
No, and Jesus in the time of Yehoshua HaMashiach, they was actually considered Samaritans.
Okay.
Whenever you hear about the Samaritans, you hear about those guys. But the problem that the reason why you don't hear about them, and I'm showing a picture here, is that when they went north, they actually ended up getting captured, and they entered or was brought into Assyria. They was captured by the Assyrians and they were led into Assyria, which today is like modern day Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
The other 10 tribes, they ended up getting captured too. A few decades later, they got captured too, and they went into Babylon with Nebuchadnezzar.
So you're saying that Judah and Benjamin got captured by the Assyrians,
By the Babylonians.
and the other 10, the northern tribe, was captured by the Syrians.
They was captured by the Assyrians.
Assyrians, okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find a better picture here. The thing about it, the 10 tribes Israel that went into Assyria, they never came out.
They're still there now.
They assimilated with the Assyrians,
okay.
meaning that they actually started intermarrying with them. And so if you ever try to find that race of people, you can't find them because they married the Assyrians. So they lost all traces of their identity. Make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about how, like us over here in America, African Americans, for the most part, we have not intermarried with the white people. I mean, some of us look just as black as we did 400 years ago.
Right.
You know, some of us, you know, I mean, if we was to make a Kunta Kinte movie, you know what I mean, you got a whole lot of actors who look just like they got off the boat.
Right.
Well, you have a few that actually intermarried with white people and people of other races. But when you look at their children, a lot of times you can't tell the difference between who's who.
Yeah.
You know, the children, you know, they end up losing the texture of the hair.
Mm-hmm.
They lose the skin color.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they even lose their ethnicity.
Yeah.
You don't hear the dialect anymore. You know, they don't really talk with Ebonics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they lose almost all traits of who they were. And, you know, this has been going on for a long time because we hear about stories. You know, our grandparents are always telling us, you know, stories about how some of our aunts and uncles actually passed for white people.
Yeah.
And they went on and married white people.
Yeah, and still today are living as white people, knowing that they are, they're originally from a black race of people.
I was trying to type this in as you was talking. I'm trying to get to the time chart history of the world. But yeah, their grandparents were black, and or at least some of them, and you know they intermingled, or you know, I hate to use the word bred, but they bred with white people, and came what the old times called Milanos, And, you know, some of them they had lost the texture of the hair, lost the skin color to the point where they could actually fool the common white person. And they actually married white people. And now their children are considered white people.
Yes. Yes. We have that in our family. So, and I'm sure a lot of African American people have that in their family. Yes.
Okay. So that's what it means to assimilate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Israel did in Assyria. And that's why now they are considered the lost tribe, the lost tribe, the 10 lost tribes, because you can't find them. Even if you were to go right now over to Assyria and try to identify these people, you can't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. They have no resemblance of who they are or who they were. They don't look like Jacob at all.
And you would have a hard time convincing them that they were, because, they don't look like we would think that Jacob would look. They now, I would say more so probably identify with the, I don't want to say white race, but, other race of nation other than the black race. And I'm just using black and white because I don't have, the vocabulary to identify.
So you're saying that they're passing for white people?
More so than black people, yes.
Well, yeah. Well, look how easy it is to lose the texture of the hair and the skin color. That's the first things to go.
Well, that only takes maybe what, 1 or 2 generations?
It don't take long at all. I mean, even in the first generation, I mean, some of them actually hold on to it, but it's very few that will keep that nappy hair. Mm-hmm. I mean, you take a blue-black African, straight off the boat, and have them to marry a lily white, woman from Poland, straight off the other boat, and the hair and the skin color is going to change immediately.
Yeah, even within children, even within siblings, because one sibling could have what you would think of Caucasian slick fine hair, and the other sibling could have the curly texture wavy hair that we as African Americans have.
Yeah. So, and I'm trying to show this picture here, how you had the 10 tribes that assimilated into Assyria. Like we said, that's modern day Turkey, and even the upper, somewhere around, Iraq and over in that area. That is where the 10 tribes got lost at. But what happened to the other 2 tribes?
They were scattered?
No.
Well, we know you say that they went into Babylon.
The other 2 tribes, Judah, what happened to them?
Judah and Benjamin.
Judah and Benjamin they actually came out of Babylon. Like we said, the Israel, they never came out of it. Like I'm looking at this chart right here. If I could blow it up so you can see it. Let me see. Maybe I could download it. No, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about how, though Judah and Benjamin went into captivity, they came out.
They actually came out of captivity. They spent 70 years in captivity. And then they actually came out of captivity and went on doing the books like Ezra, Nehemiah. They went on to rebuild the temple.
Right.
And by the time you get to the Maccabean period, they were back in Jerusalem, back living their lifestyle, before Antiochus Epiphanes came in. Mm-hmm. And they survived that too. And they were actually still in Jerusalem when the Messiah showed up.
Yeah.
That's why they call them the Jews.
Yeah.
But if you remember, like we talked about, you had the Samaritans who were also around them.
Yeah, those were the ones that, we always hear about the Samaritan lady, and, she's saying that she was talking to the Messiah and saying that about how our Father gave us this well and stuff like that. So yeah.
So when you think about it, and I'm making this video so I can come back in and watch, get my notes together. So You had Israel who went into Turkey and somehow ended up in Europe, ended up in Poland, ended up in Germany, ended up, all over Europe, even in Russia. But now you have Judah who were there in 70 AD when they destroyed the temple. They was even there in 360 or 685 AD 685 when they came in to build the Dome of the Rock. But since they recognized that as the abomination of desolation that the Messiah talked about, they fled and they ran down into Africa. They ran into Western Africa. Those were the Jews.
Okay.
So they ended up, as we know, they ended up on slave ships and ended up being floated off to the Americas and to other parts of the country, just like it says over in Deuteronomy chapter 28. So those are the Jews. And so you say, well, who are those people that are over there now?
Are you talking about in Israel?
Yeah, who are they that is in Israel now?
They are, well, I'm just going to say they're the Jewish people.
They are Israel. That's Israel. That's Israel. That's the other 10 tribes.
You talking about those white folks over there?
They assimilated into Assyria and became white people.
Okay, wait, now hold up, because you done lost me. Okay, you are saying that the ones that we say are from the Caucasus Mountain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They are, so they're actually
descendants of Jacob. They're actually Israel. They're actually the tribes Reuben, Issachar, Gad.
I think you're gonna have to prove that. And I say that just because so many people are saying, and so many YouTube videos and commentary and all this are saying that have us believing that they're just people who came in and just came in and took over, and they have no rights to that land over there.
Yep. Well, turns out they actually do have the right to the land. They are the descendants of Israel. The only way you can prove it is by doing their DNA and looking to see that don't they have this God gene. I mean, they've done the DNA before.
They have over there.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of them have, and some of them, not most of them, but some of them actually, have the H1B1 haplocode. But the thing is, you get that through your dad. But so if you had a woman of the tribe of Naphtali, for instance, who went into Assyria and married an Assyrian, her child won't have that haplocode.
Yeah.
But she is still a descendant of Naphtali. She's still a child. So that's who those people are. They are Israel. But the purpose of this is, who are the Jews? The only two identifiable groups still left now are Judah and Benjamin. Only because they never did assimilate. They never did marry into the other nations. I mean, they didn't marry into the Rome. When Rome came and sacked them in 70 AD, 685 AD, they didn't marry into that group of people. They didn't, all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to become Romans now. And they married into that nation. You remember even Paul was still separated, and he was a Roman soldier. He still had his ethnicity. He still had his identity. After they fled from Jerusalem, of course, they wasn't going to flee into Europe because they did not look like Europeans. And the Europeans were targeting and killing them. So they fled down into the part of the country, part of the world where they actually fit in, which was Africa.
So what is going over there right now is you got brothers fighting against brothers.
What do you mean?
Israel fighting against Palestinians. They're both brothers' children. When it boils down to it.
Pretty much. Well, I guess the thing is, they're lost. You can't really tell who is who. The only way you could tell who is Israel is who has the God gene at this point. If they have the God gene, if they got spirituality, if they have an inherent relationship with the Father on a non-materialistic basis, then check probability that is that you run their DNA, you're going to find a descendant of Jacob. So
you really can't go by color no more. Is that what you're saying?
Not when it comes to Israel. You can't. You don't know who they are. They are simple. That's why they say they are the lost tribes. They are lost. They are completely lost. You cannot tell by any physical traits who is who. They could be blonde hair, blue eyed white people, and you'll never know it.
Okay, well let me ask you this question: who, or does the Bible say who the promises are for? Is it for Judah and Benjamin? And then I have another question too. Or is it for the combination of Israel?
It's for all of Israel. All 12 tribes. All 12 tribes have those promises that you read about over in Deuteronomy.
So is that why, this wasn't my question, but do you believe that is why that they prosper? We know they prosper because they keep the laws.
Yeah.
But is it also because that promise belonged to them as well?
Yeah, they would still have the promises, the blessings would still be on them, even more so than Judah, because they are keeping the laws. Whereas you can establish that Judah are these Africans who, like Deuteronomy chapter 68 says, Deuteronomy chapter 28 says, were floated away into foreign lands in the belly of a ship with iron yokes about their neck. Mm-hmm. They are Israel too, but because they are not keeping the statutes, the commandments, the judgments, they have more of the curses that you read about in Leviticus 26. They are getting the curses of Leviticus 26, whereas Israel, the ones we see over there as Orthodox Jews, are keeping the statutes. They're keeping a Sabbath day every week. Mm-hmm. You go to a Jewish community if you want to on Saturday, it's going to be a ghost town. Mm-hmm. They are keeping the feast days, unleavened bread.
So what I'm thinking about is how, and I gave this example to one of the children the other day too, how you can have stepchildren that are obedient, and you could have children of your own loins, mm-hmm. that are not obedient. You still gonna have, though they're still your original children, you still gonna have more favor toward those stepchildren. Is it something like that?
Who would be the stepchildren in this case?
Israel, no.
No, they're not stepchildren. They're children. The stepchildren in this case is the Gentiles.
The lost, so they're just lost children.
They're just lost. They're the thing. And the thing about it, when you look at the eschatology and you see them actually come back together as a people group, not only is it the Jews, but it is Israel too. They all come back together. That's why you see now, not only are there the tribe of Judah, who is rushing to learn how to start keeping the law here in 2020, mm-hmm. but you got white people that are doing it too.
You're saying that those white people are Israel?
Those white people are Israel. They are just part of the lost tribe. The only way, and I'm saying, based on class, huh?
I was gonna say who has assimilated, and you don't know who they.
You don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, they've assimilated over the years, and the only way you're going to be able to tell is if you go in and look at the God gene. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and based on classes that we've done before, so you have these people, the majority of the black people, and even a few of the white people who have this God gene, this inherent relationship with the Most High, non-materialistic. You know, everybody act like, you know, they love God or whatever, but, you know, we're talking about the ones who don't need a figurine or an idol to worship. You know, they can worship spirit to spirit communication. You have all of these people who are now coming back together in this time now, getting ready to go through this tribulation and this apocalypse. Jacob's trouble.
That is something. You're probably gonna have a lot of backlash on that, but I believe it because it makes sense. But my other question that I was gonna ask you earlier is why do we not hear about the tribe of Benjamin?
Well, because we are the tribe of Benjamin. Primarily because Benjamin split up. There was the half tribe of Benjamin, and you remember them guys were they wanted to commit sodomy and they ran off and ended up at war. But that was half of them, and the other half led back. So it's Judah and the half tribe of Benjamin, and I guess because it's only a half tribe, don't nobody really pay that much attention to them.
Judah is more dominant tribe, I guess.
Judah is definitely the dominant tribe. Judah, it was really, you know, because David came from the tribe of Judah. Yeah. And so when Assyria left, they pretty much took everybody and said, we're leaving David behind. Mm-hmm. The only problem, well, the difference was that part of Benjamin said, we staying too, we ain't going.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course, when those tribes went north and left David behind, you remember there was still a time when, you know, there was like a migration period where everybody who wanted to serve the Lord that was in the north country fled back to the south. Mm-hmm. And everybody who didn't want to serve the Lord that was down there with David in the south country fled to the north. So it kind of sorted everybody out.
Right.
And so when you end up you got more tribes mixed in. They actually mixed up a little bit during that time. But the thing about it, so when you're looking at the tribe of Judah and the half tribe of Benjamin, which I'm saying is the only identifiable tribes on the planet, they still have some of the other tribes mixed into them because there was that time when they mixed up.
So we need to stop saying that those people don't belong over there.
Yeah.
Because that is their land. Their land as well.
Yeah, we're in error when we say that they've stolen that land. They ain't stolen that land. The thing about it, when you're reading in Deuteronomy 28 and understanding Deuteronomy 28 and how it is actually played out, it is Judah that doesn't have a right to the land. Because Judah was floated away in a slave ship to a foreign land. Israel are the only people that's still over there. Israel is over there now. Judah is gone. Judah is he out. He's gone. He according to the promises that we were given in Deuteronomy 28, he was removed from the land by way of a slave ship, whereas Israel never was. Israel, to this day, they ain't never been in the belly of a slave ship with an iron yoke about their neck.
So all these people say are saying that we're going back to Israel, going back to our homeland. Even though it was our homeland, we
ain't going back.
We ain't going back, and they're just as much home as we would.
Yeah, that's their land. You know, I mean, it's technically ours too, but you know, just like my family has, I can go back to my ancient family land in Virginia, and I could stand there on that land in Saltwater, Virginia, and say, yeah, here are the headstones of my great-great-grandparents here. This proves that this used to be my land. I mean, I can say that all I want, but ain't no way ever I'm gonna be able to live there because my name ain't on it. Our name ain't on it. It's just, I mean, they married it away. Somebody else's now. It's still, my homeland, but it ain't gonna do me no good because I'm never gonna be able to live there. Well, that's the same way it is with Jerusalem. It is our homeland, but we ain't never going back over there.
So let me ask you this question, and it might be off the subject. Do you still believe, knowing this information, I don't know how long ago that you discovered it, that the Father gave you this, was that, do you still believe that Israel, that land is going to be destroyed?
Yeah, I believe that that's where the rock is going to land at. I believe that when we see this first trumpets blow of this apocalypse, that's going to be where they're going to blow at. That's what I believe.
Okay. Well, in light of this information, that is saying that a lot of people over there will die, and a lot of the Father's children will be killed.
Mm-hmm. You even read in Revelation where it talks about how during the earthquakes, 7,000 names perish, which means 7,000 people with their names in the book of life are actually going away during that earthquake.
7,000?
7,000, yeah.
That doesn't seem like a lot.
Because you're talking about 7,000 people with their name in the book of life. That's 7, but how many more people is it? You know what I mean? That's just 7,000 people, 7,000 of his people. It could be 70,000 or it could be, 100,000 people total. But
that is profounding. That information is
interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to end up putting together a class on it. I just wanted to get your opinion on it. I may end up publishing this one if I ain't got nothing else to publish one day, but hopefully before then I'll put together a class with more detailed information on it. Anything else before we close out?
I think that's it.
All right, y'all. Stop messing with them people over there. That's daily. This is our promised land over here. This is our promised land over here. This is the land of milk and honey for us over here. We need to let them have that over there. We don't all that dry and dusty stuff. I don't know if we wanted it, especially since we got the third temple, which is in our heart. We could be anywhere. Anywhere could be our land. So I'd rather be in America. We out.
Shalom.